Okay, we are live. How's everyone doing this tonight? That's a great way to start, by the way. How's everybody doing tonight or this morning, depending on where you live? We are back with another live stream after a brief period of inactivity. We are back on Wednesdays and this Saturday as well, if everything goes well. Back to the Laravel learning management system with Filament, Livewire, and Laravel. This is what we have. This is the agenda for today. This is what I want to achieve. It's been a while, but the last time we were here, there was a bit of an issue with the routing. Whenever you finish watching an episode, it's supposed to go to the next one, which works the first time. Like let's say we watch the first episode and that ends and we are immediately taken to the second one. But if we don't navigate anywhere, if we don't do anything and we finish if we finish watching the second episode, then it doesn't take us to the third. And I think I know why, and we are going to fix that issue today. We basically have a wrong approach to what we were doing when an episode ends. Then we're going to rework our filament, our course list. We have a list of courses, we have the test already, but we want to use filament tables for that. So we are going to rework that and incorporate filament tables into that view. And we are also going to make that available to all users. And that is going to require some moving around. So that's what we have ready for today. And so without further ado, let's just jump in. Let me just check real quick if there is anyone in the chat. Bugar, how you doing, my man? Thank you for showing up. Respect to you as well. So yeah, let's get started. Let's move into VS Code. And let me start by showing you what is the problem, actually, with this watch episode. Let's go to, actually, we have to log in first. And let me switch my presentation mode first. How was it? Like this. There we go. So yeah, let's log in. I'm going to hit remember me just because I don't want to keep logging in. This works fine. And this button is, this is because we don't have we don't have Vite running, so the styles are all wrong. So let's go back here and open a terminal real quick, and let's do, you can do npm as well, but I do bun run dev. So Vite is running, let's leave it at that and go back to here and refresh. There it is. Okay, so let's see, continue watching. These two are watched because this is what we were doing as an example. But let's say first, we are in the first episode. So I'm gonna mute this. Let's say we start watching that and we get to the end and that take us to the second one, which is tour. That works fine, but there are two issues here. First one is that we are not taken to the third one, because if that were to work, if we start watching this one and this one ends as well, we should be moved to the third episode, but that does not happen. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is that, and maybe this would be a little hard to see, but in the route, the ID of the episode, it's still on episode one. That the route doesn't change, and that could be confusing. And that's what I meant by we are following the wrong approach here, because what I'm doing is basically I'm just grabbing, I have a Livewire variable that identifies what's the current episode that we're watching. And all I'm doing is when we move from one to the other, I grab the episode ID or find the episode in database and just replace the value of that variable. And that triggers Livewire to re-render the page. The problem here is that, and this is just what I think, when we re-render that portion of the page that contains, by the way, the video player, that also contains a reference to a JavaScript script that basically is the API for Vimeo. So when we re-render that, I think what's happening is that, let me show you actually in code. What's the component? No, that's that. I think it was video player, right? Video player entry. We made an entry for this, and this has a view. So let's open video player entry.blade, and this is the view for the blade component. Notice that inside the view, we have this reference here. And I did this because I cannot have this script on the script portion of the Livewire component, because you can only have one script reference in the script section. So if I put the two in there, it's not going to work. But what happens is that this section here loads according to the life cycle of the Livewire component. So this part is supposed to work accordingly. Problem is that in here, I'm making reference to the Vimeo player object, and this Vimeo player object loads in here in this section. What I think is happening is that when I trigger the reactivity of the Livewire component, when I switch this, the current episode, which is in watch episode. Yeah, when I switch the value of this variable, it's re-rendering this component, and this component also has the video player entry component. So I think it's losing the reference to the JavaScript instance of the Vimeo player, and it's not firing any. It's not firing the events that will trigger this on episode ended. So, and also the route thing, it's not changing in the route, and that is confusing. Are we still in episode 1? That's going to change to a slog later, and when you look at the route, it looks like we're still in episode 1, but we are actually on episode 2. So we have to change the approach. And the approach that we should be doing, or we should be taking, is instead of rewriting this variable, we just have to redirect. We just have to redirect from the current episode to a different episode using a route instead of just a variable value. And that's what we are going to do. But that also changes the test. So instead of changing the code first, let's go and change the test, because the test will inform the code. So, oh, sorry. So yeah, let's open the test for the test case for when the watch episode ends. I'm gonna close a few things here, and I think the name was watch episode test. And which one is it? Stay in the current episode? No. Redirect to next episode after video ends. We were actually using the right wording for the test, but the approach was not actually in line. So here, we don't really need to worry about the assert C text, at least not in this test, because we already have a test for rendering the current episode when we pass an episode ID and when we don't have an episode ID. So this part, I don't think we need to test again. The only thing that I need to test is when we dispatch, instead of asserting that I can see the second episode overview, I just want to assert that I get redirected to the episode route with the correct IDs. So assert redirect, I believe. This will take a URL, but to form the URL, I believe we need a couple of variables. So let's use double quotes here and let's say it redirects to course, and we need the course ID. We already have the course variable here, so we can use course get route key. And episodes. And we need the episode ID or the episode here. So let's just, we only have two. We're already doing course episode first here to get the first episode. Why don't we get the next episode as a variable, just like this, but instead of first, let's do last. Do we need the route key right away? Actually not do that, just like this. So this will give me the last episode, which is the next. And then down here, I can just say next episode, get route key. So this is basically almost the same test, but I'm not worrying about seeing any render text in it. All I need to know is that as soon as the dispatch, as soon as the episode ended, event is dispatched with the current episode ID, I get redirected to the next episode ID. So this is the full route that I expect to be redirected after the episode ended event is dispatched. Let me check let me check chat again. The Jid, hi, how you doing, my friend? I'm doing well. Life is great. I took a bit of a break for a couple of weeks just to, I feel like I needed a bit of a self-care time for me. I did have a bit of a surgical procedure, nothing major, but I did feel like I needed to take a break for a moment. But I'm glad that you are here today. Thank you. Let's see. So let's run this. Let's run this test. Whoa. Oh, I have Xdebug still enabled. Let me disable that real quick. Actually, let's get another terminal here. I recently switched from my Windows PC to my Mac PC, and that's why you can see me in this little circle. That's part of the presentation layer, I think it's called. But I also switched to Herd. So and when you're in Herd, and we're not in premium version of Herd, to enable or disable Xdebug, all you need to do is open the php.ini file, and every time you need to enable Xdebug, you just uncomment these lines, but right now I need to disable it, so I just comment those, save, and then in the terminal just restart. Perfect. Okay, let's do that again. Actually, let's just run all of the, well, no, one is going to fail. So let's just focus on this one. All right, let's run that again. So fail asserting that an array as the key redirect. Really? Oh, basically the component did not perform a redirect, so that's fine. That's what I was expecting actually. So now let's go ahead and do a redirect when the dispatch event is fired. So for that, we go to watch episode here, and instead of this, we can do, let's remove this. Hold on. This redirect route. This is how you redirect in Livewire, by the way. So the route name, I believe, is courses episodes show. And the parameters, we need the course. Do we have the course as a variable here? Yes, we do. This course. So course as this course get route key. Do I need to pay? Let's try it like this. I don't think I need to do get route key. Laravel will be smart enough to know that. Smart enough to know based on the model what key to use. And I mentioned this because, again, my plan is to later, instead of using an ID in the route, I want to start using a slug so that it'll be more identifiable. And the second parameter is the actual episode. So instead of doing this current episode, let's just do next episode. So the next episode is whatever episode we are looking at based on the sort plus 1. And if we don't get anything, then it stays on the current episode that we're watching, or the episode that actually fired the event. So episode is the parameter, and the value is, well, yeah, next episode. Save that and run the test again. I probably, did I use singular in the route instead of courses? See. Yeah, I did. Courses. All right, now it's passing. Perfect. Let's try it out now, but in the web page. See what happens. Back to the web browser. It already reloaded. So introduction. Episode 1 starts, ends, and now it redirects to episode 2. If we check the route, now the ID is actually 2. Awesome. All right, so start watching, ends, and moves to 3rd, and it does. Perfect. Awesome. Let's do this. Come on, watch it. See it. Yay. Perfect. All right, so that's fixed. Let me go and mark that. Now, the next thing that we want to do again is just rework the test that we already have or rework the implementation for the list of courses with filament tables. But before we do that, let me just make sure that everything is running as expected. Let's just do pest and run everything Make sure that all of the tests are passing. Let me get out of the way. Okay. Yeah, 55 passing test. Perfect. All right, so the one test that I want to focus right now, well, actually two, because, well, let's start with just the tables. Then we need another test for the route of the list of courses if we want to see that on the web browser. Close this, and let's open course list test. All right, so this is working. But the implementation for this, if you look at the course list component, is just very simple. Just getting all the courses, which are immediately available to the view. And that view looks like this: course list.play.php. And it's just a very bare bones table showing just the title of the course. So we're not going to change much regarding this. We are still just going to show the course title, but we are going to do it with filament tables. And for that, I think I need to install the filament tables package. So let's go to the documentation. As always, if you can reference the documentation every time, it is recommended. So let's look for the table builder and let's copy this command and run it here. While that is going, next step is we don't need to do this because this is not a new project. We need just to run this PHP artisan command to install the tables. Copy that and run this. And no, I already did. Okay, so filament tables are installed. Now let's incorporate those into the component, the course list component. So let's move into here. And as always, we just need to implement has forms and has tables. Table. Filament forms, contracts has form, filament tables, contracts has table. And to get rid of that squiggly line, we just use a couple of traits, interacts with forms, and also interacts with table. Table. Okay, next we need a function that will render or configure the table. So public function, I believe it's called table, which takes in a table, which is extends from view component and will return that same table right here. And just because I want to use everything inside this table's namespace, I'm going to create a new use statement like that. And here we return, not retry, return table. And first thing we need is the query builder for the table. So we just do, I think it's query, and then this will accept a query builder. Let's use the course because we are displaying courses here. So add models course query. And then we need the columns, is it? Or schema? Columns. All right. The only column that we are going to use is the tables, just one column for now, tables, columns, a text column for the title. No sorting, no filters, just this. It's just a simple rework to move from a bare bones table in HTML to filament tables. All of the functionality we can add later. Save that. And last thing that we need is to go to the view, and instead of displaying all of this, we remove that and just echo this table. Save, and let's run the test, that specific test again, which is show a list of all courses. Make sure that it's not failing. Perfect. We are still on the green. Now, let's see how it looks on the web browser, because I still want to do a couple of things. I don't think I need the document. Oh God, what is this? That was scary. Okay, so, oh, we don't have a route. I can't go to see the actual implementation without a route. How is it that we don't have a route? Well, because we are testing the livewire component itself, not the route. So we need a test for that route. So I think we already have a file for all of our route testing. So I think it's called route tests. And we need another one for it has a route for the course list. Since this route is going to be open to everyone, because you do, oh, and actually I should open up the course description as well. More about that later, but the idea is everyone can see the list of courses. It's not until you want to watch a course or an episode of a course that you should sign in and potentially pay for a subscription. So the list of courses should be open to everyone. So in this case, I'm just going to do get, and let's pass route. What's this going to be? How are we going to call this route? Courses index. No parameters, nothing else. All I want to know is that whenever I call this route, I get a good response. That's it. All right, let's run this. It obviously fails because the courses.index route is not defined. So let's open web.php, and right here, let's add a route get. Courses will be the URL, and this is also going to be a full page livewire component. So this would be course list class. Let me see if we imported that. Yes. Do we need anything else? Just a name. Okay. Run the test again. Should work, but it doesn't. And it's not very descriptive to the reason why. It just says, I'm expecting a code 200, but we are getting a 500 instead. And the interesting part is where it's happening. You see this? It's actually happening on a compiled view. Anyone's guess as to what that is? By the way, Waldemir, hi, how you doing? Bo, Arturo, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you? Frankly, I do not think Herd is much better than Ballet. Well, not really. It's just Ballet with added features, but it's essentially the same thing. I do like it because of the added. You have UIs and stuff, but yeah, it's not miles or bounds better. The JIT Biswas Valet is nice, and I agree. Okay, what extension you use in general as and in specific for Laravel extension? Well, in general, I use a couple, but nothing too specific. I use an extension for, let's say, the best execution. I just let me show you. What was the command? Oh, like that. So yeah, I just used better pest for the pest execution. I use Catpuccin for the theme, Catpuccin icons for the icons on the for the icons. Do you use Copilot? I tried, but I didn't like it. I feel it was not as, how do I put this? It was, instead of being helpful, it was getting in the way. So I found myself fighting with Copilot instead of feeling that Copilot was helping me. So I used it for a month and just turned it off. Or similar. No, the only thing that I use for assistance is PHP Intelligence, the free version. And that's enough for me. Like being able to see the definition of a function. It's not perfect, I will give you that. But having the ability to see some code completion, being able to navigate between the class definition and the implementation of that class, it's good enough for me. I don't like when when the code editor tries to be too smart for its own benefit. I don't know. I feel like it's, in my personal opinion, I feel like it gets in the way. Use Postman for work stuff. Rainbow CSV, this was installed already. IntelliSense for Tailwind, so that I have code completion on HTML when I'm doing classes. And Vue, again, this is for work stuff. I don't really use it much. But yeah, that's pretty much all the extensions that I use. Nothing too fancy. All right, back to the subject. Anyone's guess as to why what this error means? It's just a 500 error, and it happens on a compiled. This is the stack. It's just gibberish. It doesn't really help you. And it took me a while to figure it out, by the way. Attempt to read, this might give you a hint. Attempt to read property name on no. And look at where it happens. Navigation.blade.php. So because it's a layered thing. We are creating a route that will access a component as a full page component. But that full page library component is using, let me close this. That full page library component is using a layout file. And that layout file we created contains another liveware component that renders the top navigation that we added like maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. Well, not 2 weeks ago, 2 streams ago. So in that liveware navigation component, we are accessing the logged in username. But because this route is not is actually open to guests, then it's failing because we don't have a logged in user, so we don't have a logged in user name. Yeah, I enjoy simplicity in everything. So the less I have to deal with, the better. It's just for clarity. I don't know. That's how I like it. Yeah, simplicity in my case. So yeah, we need to modify the navigation component so that it works both for both guests and logged in users. My idea is that when you're not logged in, the navigation stays the same, but instead of showing the logged in user name and the instead of using the drop down for the logged in username and allowing you to go to the profile and sign out, instead of that, we just show a button that will take you to the login page. So let's do that. Okay, hide in the chat for now. We'll be back. I'll be back and check on the chat later. And hide this, and let's open the. Let me show you where that component is, by the way. So we go to resources, not public, resources, views, livewire, layout, navigation. This is the layout that all of the livewire components use if we use them as full page. And all the way up here, well, this is the primary navigation. That's fine. Responsive navigation, that's fine as well. But inside here, there's navigation links and the settings dropdown. This is where things are failing because here, for example, there is a button that serves as the dropdown. And in that button, we are using Alpine.js to get the username, the logged in username, and display that in that div. That's the first place that it fails because we don't have a logged in username. Okay. And we also have a drop down with the two links for the profile and to log out. So instead of this drop down, first of all, let's make this section be available to only authorized users. We can use the auth directive. And if there is no authorized user or logged in users, this will not show. Let's also add another for guests. Is it guest or guests? Let me check. Blade templates, blade directives, and zoom in a little bit. It's just guest. Okay, so guest, for the guest, I believe we already have, thanks to Breeze, we already have a component for a button. So let's use X. I think it's called primary button. And for the text, let's just use sign in. Save that. We have to do it in two places because if I'm not mistaken, this is the navigation for when you're not using, when you're not in a mobile device. And the responsive one is down here. And I believe we are also using, where is the guest? Here, out username. So let's just replace this whole thing. This section, this entire div is going to be for authorized users. sorry, and out. And then for guests, let's use that primary button again. And save. So if everything goes well, I should be able to run that. What happened? Run that test again. And it should pass. And it doesn't. How's that? If I could find the actual error. Jesus, what a load of crap. No, no, no. Routing, router, pipeline. Jesus Christ. Kernel. Factories. That is weird. Good night. No problem. I know it's probably too early. It's all right. You can always catch it on the replay. Thank you for being here. Have a good night. Bye-bye. See you next time. And let's see what's going on here. What happens if I run this on the actual browser? We already have a route. Maybe the browser will be a little bit more. Oh, here. Seen unexpected in a file. Oh. Oh, no. Did I not? It's like I'm not closing something. And it's in here. What happens if I remove that part? No, still not working. And now it's because of something else. Let me just double check here. Oh, right. I didn't close this one. And guest. My bad. Copy this. Paste it here. I'm not going to watch the page just yet. Let's run the test first. Perfect. Come on. You're not going to do it? Come on. There you go. So yeah, that one's working. Now let's go watch it on the browser. All right. So instead, let's go to courses. Okay, we have a very minimal, very simple live wire table. I do want to simplify it a bit more because I want the records to show not as a table, but as a grid. so that every course will be like its own card. So let's just modify it a bit further. So we can close this. Let's go to course list. And to make it a grid, we can do two things. First of all, we can call content grid on the table. And I forgot how that works. So let's go to the documentation once more. Table builder. I think it's in the layout section. Arranging records into a grid. Here we go. It takes an array of breakpoints. Let's just follow the same. No, 2 for me is too low. Actually, let's do for mid-size, let's say, how many? If I go to code course, okay. So this is a grid of 3 rows on large. How about on medium? Still 3. And then 2 on, no, 2 on medium, 3 on large. Let's do the same thing. MD2, LG 30. I'm not seeing any changes. I think it's because we also have to combine this with a stack column layout. So we can do tables, columns, layout, stack. And just put this inside, save, and there it is. Okay. So you see how it's showing up as a card. We can further customize this to make it look something like this. Change the font weight, add a few more things, a few more columns, or a few more fields for each row, and just make it a bit more appealing, but the base thing is there. I do want to remove a bit of, I don't want to see this. Maybe use simple pagination instead. And I think I saw that somewhere in advanced, maybe. Customizing the pagination, preventing displaying using simple pagination. Here it is. We just use, we need a new method, paginate table query, that returns a simple paginate with this code. Let's just use that as is. Now this, the documentation says that this should be, if you're using the panel builder, this should go into the pages list.php. But since we are using Livewire, I can just add that into my Livewire component directly. We probably need the builder. Oh. Import eloquent database query builder, I believe. Database eloquent query builder, yes. And the paginator, kilometer contracts, pagination, paginator. Let's just copy that. Let's see how that looks. All right. Yeah, simple pagination. I like it. I can't see any page numbers right now because I only have one course, but when we have more, and I'll probably create more courses to show up so that I can test pagination, but I'll do that for next week. I think I like that. Yeah. What happens if I sign out, by the way? Let's log out and navigate to courses again. There you go. We have a sign in button here, and I still can see all of the courses. Perfect. Okay, so I think we managed to do everything. Rework, we did that, and allow guests on course details. We did that as well. So I think we are going to leave it as is for now. Thank you so much for showing up, everyone. Didn't close guests. That's right. Sorry for I can imagine how frustrating it must be. But thank you. Yeah, it was that. So yeah, we got everything that we wanted for today. Thank you everyone for showing up. And I'll see you all next week. If you found any of this helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.